I don't work there anymore. My employer decided to convert all of a certain class of our records from paper-based files to digital. There were 3 immediate problems. Our company was not going to buy a generic system, but develop our own unique, tailored system. It was to be done on the cheap, with net savings for record keeping from year 1. The guy in charge, let's call him Genius, always, and I mean always, thought he was the smartest guy in room. Believe me, he wasn't. Anyway, one of the girls I worked with took on the project on the condition that she could have the next July off for her wedding and honeymoon. She worked hard, and the project was actually making progress. One of her duties was passwords, none of which could be written anywhere because Genius knew this was bad. She periodically reminded Genius about the July wedding and he told her it'd be fine, but never signed off the paperwork. Come mid-May, the project is way behind, mainly because Genius told management it could all be done in-house at negligible cost, and Genius kept changing the design every time he read a new magazine article on IT. My friend was then told 6 weeks out from the wedding that her leave was cancelled. The project took priority and she'd just have to reschedule her wedding, honeymoon, the works. Genius just could not see that this might be a problem. So, she did her job, updated the passwords as required, never recording them anywhere, as required, and resigned without notice the last day of June. On her honeymoon she gets a frantic call from Genius demanding all the passwords. Sorry, I don't work there anymore. Click. That's why a decade later our company still has a few hundred electronic case files we can't access. Now to the comments. My girlfriend had a vacation to Thailand and Cape Cod planned, 2 weeks each. She put in the vacation time and gotten it approved and was then told she could only have 2 weeks. Tickets had been purchased. Vacation day came and she was expected at work. As she was boarding the plane she called and quit. They rehired her when she got back home. Less important to most. But when I adopted a dog, the rescue agency told me it was very important for the dog's mental health that I spend time for the first week reassuring the dog that it was safe. No way I could do that with my commute, so I took my first week of vacation in 3 years. Since it was an adoption, I had months of heads up, notified everyone, had a plan in place. The unimpeachable week off. Well, it was during September, and where I worked then, they have a mad scramble every year to balance their accounting. Accounting always ends up burning super amounts of overtime the last week of the month. They whined immensely about how unfair it all was, and someone in their infinite wisdom cancelled everyone's September leave, because indiscriminate pain is fair, right? Never mind the 2/3 of the business unit. Yours truly included. Could do no accounting. I mean, sure, I've audited a book or 10 in my day, but we weren't anointed as accountants in this organization, so as far as it cared, I could account as well as you or I could walk on water. Protests fell on deaf ears. I was told I would be fired if I took my week. I know it's just a dog, but I agreed to care for him, and was told this was necessary for his well-being. So, I packed my desk, and turned in my equipment on Friday. I did not resign. I asked that they have the decency to call me before I spend hours in traffic the Monday after next coming in, if I'm fired. Spent the week with the dog. No idea if I have a job. But he seems to adjust well to the idea of me always coming back. Following Monday, I drive in, walk in, and for the first time in years no one asks me how my weekend was. Everyone pretends like my missing week never happened. I proceeded to work there for 3 more years, eventually leaving with months of accrued leave paid out at my final rate. Delicious. No one ever cancelled leave again. I don't recommend my course of action unless you're ready to quit, but I was young and otherwise unencumbered, so I took a risk. I don't recommend my course of action unless you're ready to quit. While this is true, sometimes you need to also have a backbone for yourself and be ready for them to fire you. Don't quit, but do exactly as you did. Be firm, stand your ground on a _very_reasonable claim, and take it like a man. No BSing, no schmoozing or making it sound special to make it better for yourself. I'm going home, taking my agreed upon vacation time like an adult, and you will be an adult if you terminate me. People know when they're dicking others around, and sometimes all it takes is for someone to point out the obvious and confront it out in the open like that for them to back down. Sometimes they'll fire your ass too. But unless you are in a spot where you need the next immediate check or two, it ain't worth working somewhere like that. I really don't understand these companies that think someone will cancel an important event that they've known about for months, just to go to work. Because they are a family, and you can't hurt the family by leaving work. Every time a manager drops that family line to me, I laugh a little inside. Telling a person to cancel your entire wedding. How inhumane companies can get is insane. Sometimes it's a manager thing from experience. I've seen several managers enforcing policies which are not company policy. I guess they get some sick self-important satisfaction from it. For example, in my last role, a close colleague's grandma passed away. She had practically raised her, so was like a mother. Manager said she could have one day off, and ideally if she could work from home when she got back from the funeral that would be great. She was fuming. Went to HR, who said the company policy was 3 days, and because of long travel they might be allowed more at director discretion. Madness. Husband and I resigned to get married, too. Manager said they couldn't spare us, no time off approved that month, they're too busy. Wonder how well they fared. Less 2 employees plus having to train replacements in a job with a 50% turnover rate. Fun aside, that same manager was set to leave with a generous retirement package after 40 years at the company, but decided to stay on a little longer to build up even better benefits. Shortly after, he was fired with cause, retirement package rescinded. Fun aside, that same manager was set to leave with a generous retirement package after 40 years at the company, but decided to stay on a little longer to build up even better benefits. Shortly after, he was fired with cause, retirement package rescinded. Oh, that's definitely the more fun part of the story. Agreed. The guy looked like a tall Mr. Burns. You want to imagine what he looked like being escorted out of the building. You got to tell us more. Was Genius fired? I'm 99% certain Genius threw the woman under the bus and got a raise for having to deal with the crisis. Well, duh. I mean, you can't not give a raise to such a brilliant money saver. It's not his fault the project crashed. The plan was brilliant, the uneducated employees just couldn't comprehend the brilliance of his planning and failed to follow his highly optimized logistical planning. I wish I was making this shit up. Similar story, a friend of mine asked for a leave of absence to care for his sick mother in another town. Company said no, so he quit. After his mom passed, he came back to town and the company hadn't replaced him. The position required somewhat specialized training and certification. He became a consultant and did his former job for twice his previous pay. Sometimes managers have no foresight whatsoever. Dude, that is some special comeuppance. Having lost my mom, different circumstances, and was surrounded by people that actually cared, thankfully / I can totally understand why your friend did what they did. If you talk to them anytime soon, tell them Reddit thinks they are awesome. Oh, that's good stuff. He actually thought she would move her wedding and honeymoon for a work project. Dang. I had a boss ask me to miss my sister's wedding instead of flying home. He'd buy me new tickets for another week. No. I gave my 2 weeks notice and he flipped out. Couldn't understand why I'd quit and leave him hanging. He relented on the days off, which should be approved when I was hired, and gave me a bonus to pay for my troubles. I learned more about how not to run a business from that jackwagon. Can concur. Several ex-bosses I have had are a constant source of inspiration of how not to do things. I should probably thank him. Kidding. I hope he has lumps in his oatmeal. Sometimes it is so hard to fathom how the US employment and vacation systems $$ the employee. Here in Switzerland, you have 20 days vacation by law, many companies give you 25. I personally have 22 to 24 depending to holidays. And it is also written in our Arbeitsrecht, law to regulate employment etc., that you have to take 2 weeks consecutively. And approved holidays can only be cancelled if there would be major financial consequences for the company. And by the way, my parents live/work in Germany and they both have over 30 days of holiday, paid of course. And also, my resignation period is 3 months, both when I quit and if I am fired. This increases to 6 months after 5 years. This can of course be sometimes problematic, but almost every company will settle for a shorter period. It just baffles me so much how little employees count in the US. You are very lucky if your employer cares about you here, especially in a corporate setting.